Hello, and welcome on behalf of the Cedars Sinai faculty and staff. I'm Shlomo Melmed. By objective, independent surveys, Cedars Sinai is the most trusted medical center in what is widely regarded as the most diverse city in the world. We are an independent academic medical center deeply invested in and reliant upon the power of human connection. The connection between scientists and clinicians, trainees and their mentors, caregivers and patients, and between our staff and the larger community. In keeping with that unwavering commitment to connectedness, our mission calls upon us to train accomplished physicians and scientists who are passionate about optimizing the synergy between research, clinical care, and community outreach. To that end, we believe in fostering excellence in an open, inclusive, and rigorous medical training setting where you are fully empowered to optimize your potential. And as disciplined and talented scholars, you are in fact the future of medicine. We are so gratified that you've joined us today, and we hope that you will find this a worthy and productive use of your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Melmed. I'm Amy De Rosa, the Executive Director of Graduate Medical Education here at Cedars Sinai. I'd like to open tonight's event with our land acknowledgement, which Cedars Sinai developed in conjunction with United American Indian involvement. We acknowledge we are standing on the lands of the Tongva people and many other Native people who are a significant part of the fabric of today's Los Angeles. We are mindful that hundreds of tribes were drawn here through federal relocation policies, and many generations remain here today because of their strength and resilience. In the spirit of honor and respect, let us also recognize the Native elders, both past, present, and emerging. Now it's my pleasure to introduce Nicole Mitchell, our Chief Diversity and Inclusion Officer.
Thanks, Amy. Well, welcome everyone. We appreciate you taking the time to join us tonight. In a few minutes, you'll get to meet some of our residents and faculty to learn a bit more about Cedars Sinai. Now, my role tonight is to not only welcome you, but tell you a bit about the community we serve here at Cedars. As you know, we are based in Los Angeles, so one of the most diverse cities in the country. To give you just a little snapshot of metropolitan Los Angeles, we have an amazingly vibrant community from more than 300 countries. For many nationalities, we are the largest diaspora outside their home country. So we're home to the largest Black population in the Western US, the largest Korean, Iranian, Filipino, and Thai communities in the United States. We have the third largest Mexican population in the world after Mexico City and Guadalajara, the second largest Chinese population in America after New York, and the second largest Japanese population after Honolulu. We are home to an extraordinary network of active LGBTQIA+ communities, and our international city really does produce a profoundly multicultural patient population at Cedars Sinai. Now, to make certain that each patient receives compassionate, inclusive, and respectful care, we have a diverse organization. I see diversity and experience excellence across our institution every day. And our department chairs and faculty, our leadership, our trainees and fellows, our researchers, our staff. Part of the work that I do every day is thinking about the people here that are here and the culture we're creating. And through our leadership's ongoing commitment to doing the hard work around DEI, we're really committed to this. In other words, diversity and inclusion are not just buzzwords for us. They're part of our core values. They safeguard our respect for each other and empower each of us as unique individuals. They have also guided our institution and have done so since we were founded over 120 years ago, when Jewish patients and doctors were not welcome in the city's hospitals. So I'm proud to say we have been consistent in our mission of inclusive care for quite some time. More importantly, we are ensuring that health equity, diversity, and inclusion remain valued at every level of our institution. Now, before we get into our panel of current Cedars Sinai resident and faculty, I'd like to introduce Dr. Mark Noah, our Melvin Brody, MD, Chair in Medical Education. Mark, he's going to share a little bit more about how we are training the best for the future of medicine through culturally competent service, inclusivity, and compassionate care for our community. Dr. Noah?
Thank you, Nicole, and thank all of you for giving some of your time this Wednesday evening to learn more about our medical education training programs at Cedars Sinai. Let me briefly give some insights into my own background. I'm an internist and actually grew up here at Cedars Sinai. I first stepped foot in our hospital as a second-year medical student and continued both junior and senior medical rotations here. I was very fortunate to do my residency training at Cedars Sinai, and then I was recruited to the enormous 5-person general internal medicine division that was in place at the time. I eventually was appointed to my current position, overseeing the institution's medical education programs for medical students through faculty, continuing medical educations, and everything in between. While I was growing up at Cedars Sinai, actually Cedars Sinai was also growing up around me. When I started at Cedars Sinai, it was a relatively large community hospital with 7 residency training programs, a handful of fellowships, and a small but growing research enterprise. And I wouldn't be surprised if some of your mentors still think of Cedars Sinai in that way, but that is so far from the current reality. We are now part of a healthcare delivery system that spreads across the Southern California area, from Long Beach to Pasadena, from Marina del Rey to the San Fernando Valley. We are one of the largest non-university research institutions in the country and have multiple research buildings dedicated to translational research, clinical trials, bioinformatics, genomic studies, and that's just to mention a few. We now train over 500 individuals in close to 100 graduate medical education programs, including 14 core residencies and a new residency in pediatrics that you'll hear more about in just a moment. So training at Cedars Sinai offers you something unique because we're really basically 3 hospitals in one. We are an academic medical center that has a very robust research program. We're a hospital that is focused on our community and one of the most trusted in Los Angeles. And finally, we function as a safety net hospital for a significant number of under-resourced individuals in our community. I just finished attending on the medicine wards, and easily over 70% of the patients on my residence teams were either unfunded or funded by our state's poorly subsidized Medicaid program. Finally, I would be remiss if I didn't mention the equally important experiences our trainees have in the ambulatory care setting. Many of these experiences are located off our main campus and involve the care of under-resourced individuals in our community federally qualified health centers. So to share more information with you about our work in the community, it is my sincere pleasure to introduce our Chief Health Equity Officer, Dr. Christina Harris. Christina.
Thanks, Mark. I'm Christina Harris. I'm a general internist by training and a primary care doctor, and I'm here to welcome all of you. Very excited to be here with you. And I support Cedars Sinai as the Chief Health Equity Officer and Vice President. So my efforts here at Cedars really focus on promoting health equity across the entire institution and in the communities we serve. We really try to approach this work with an honest understanding of how inequities are created. And we try to have the humility to ask the hard questions and the rigor and innovation needed to really move the needle and improve outcomes for people. At Cedars, we also understand the importance of really aligning with the community to advance health equity in the populations we serve, but as well as, outside of our doors in Los Angeles. And many of these efforts have really long, deep roots, tracking back for decades. And we do this really through intentional programming and support. So whether it's through, our 5 different standing signature programs, where we reach over 150,000 people every year and put on 5,500 distinct programs and activities over the year, and one of which you will hear about one of these signature programs right after me, or through our robust grant making, averaging about 20 to 25 million per year, really aimed at building capacity and building programmatic support and trusted relationships with community organizations. A lot of our efforts have been focused on access to care as well as homelessness and housing. And then also, as Mark had mentioned, we have many relationships with federally qualified health centers, including Planned Parenthood, and we have residents rotating through there because we understand the value of not only supporting, these federally qualified centers and the patients they serve, but as well as allowing our trainees to understand how medicine is different outside of, the halls of Cedars Sinai. So as we look ahead and really think about what a more equitable healthcare system looks like in this country, it's becoming increasingly clear that institutions are better when we align with the communities to really create durable solutions that bridge this social and clinical divide. For so long, it has been very divided. And I am very happy to say that these divides are narrowing, and I'm proud to be part of this work here at Cedars. So we understand how important it is that we build these opportunities for you guys to get out of the hospital and get into the community. And it's really critical to your development as physicians who are going to be ready to do their part in creating a more equitable tomorrow. So enough from me. So I want to introduce two of my colleagues to tell you a little bit about the Cedars Sinai programs that are really making a difference for people in Los Angeles. I want you to meet Dr. Arthur Cho and Dr. Nashita Jane, who are going to share with you a couple of examples that our trainees have access to and how they interface with the community.
Right. Thank you so much, Christine. I really appreciate it. Really a pleasure to be here. Very excited to share about all the exciting things that we're doing here at Cedars. I serve as Vice Chair of Education here in the Department of Pediatrics, and really excited to share about two particular programs that I feel very passionate about. First, I serve as Medical Director for Coach for Kids. Coach stands for Community Outreach Assistance for Children's Health. We have two large mobile medical units that provide essential primary care services in South Los Angeles. And South Los Angeles, for those of you that don't know, it's one of the most underserved areas in all of greater Los Angeles. It's within 30 minutes of our hospital, and we go out into the community serving a population of over 1 million people. It includes families from communities like Crenshaw and Watts, and we visit dozens of these sites every month. We provide well child and urgent care visits, as well as immunizations and routine preventative screenings. We partner with our social workers, our case managers to connect these families to much needed resources. This includes food and transportation assistance, as well as connections to our FQHC partners for additional services like vision and dental care. We're basically a clinic on wheels, providing primary care services in an area of need where access can be a huge challenge. For example, we serve a large undocumented immigrant population where there is real concerns of being seen at established clinics because of fear of being reported. As unfounded as that may be, it's just a real fear for these families. We also host several health fairs and partner with colleagues from other departments addressing important topics like weight management and sports physical screenings for school. We've hosted hundreds of trainees, medical students, and residents are able to participate in community health by meeting these families where they live. They learn firsthand about social determinants of health and access barriers. I also serve as a mentor to pre-medical students, many who went on to medical school and even became residents here at Cedars. So I have a certain personal pride in our programs here and really seeing how it's affected trainees and their career paths. So Coach for Kids is just really one of countless examples of Cedars' service to the community, and it really does benefit the trainees. I can confidently say that the spectrum of patient diversity that you'll see here at Cedars is really second to none. My second passion is medical education. I'm so excited about our new pediatric residency program where I'll serve as program director. And we're recruiting our first intern class this fall, so very exciting. We will have an amazing diversity of clinical experiences in our tertiary center here at Cedars. We will also be partnering with our Savon Community Clinic, a nationally awarded FQHC for a pediatric continuity clinic. Cedars has a proud tradition of service to the community while providing our trainees with robust and diverse clinical training. And if any of you guys are interested, please reach out. I can share more about Coach or career in pediatrics, but many of our faculty are involved in community outreach, whether it's here in the hospital, working and serving the underserved in our own walls, or going out in the community and participating in a lot of these special programs that Cedars has invested so deeply in. So hopefully we'll see many of you down the line during recruitment season, or even better yet, as incoming trainees in our various programs. I really appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Hi, everyone. I'm Nashita Jane, one of the Associate Program Directors of the Internal Medicine Residency Training Program here at Cedars Sinai, as well as the Director of the Community Outreach Residency Engagement Program, also known as CORE. Just a little background on who I am. I grew up in the Midwest where I went to college and medical school. I matched at Cedars Sinai for IM residency, and without really knowing many people here in LA, moved across the country. Little did I realize I would be finding a home here at Cedars. Instantly, I felt the warmth of my new Cedars family, and now here I am, many years later, a faculty member unable to leave my new home. I'm really excited to be here to share my love for Cedars and talk to you all about the core program. Cedars Sinai is an institution that is dedicated to its community and provides a unique opportunity to care for patients of tremendously different backgrounds, from socioeconomic status to gender identity and beyond. Unfortunately, in this diversity, we find disparities. So what can we do about it? Los Angeles is home to a wide range of incredible local organizations that offer invaluable perspectives for us as physicians. Core residents engage with these community experts to dive deep into questions like, why are Black women 3 times more likely to die from pregnancy-related causes than white women? Why are incarcerated individuals 3 times more likely to have HIV or AIDS? And how can we make our voices heard as physicians when speaking to Congress members? Through themed monthly didactics, workshops, and events, core residents are empowered to help their patients beyond the hospital walls and better understand them within. Through this program, residents can flex their leadership skills and apply to be a member of the core leadership committee, where they will shape curricula, design workshops, and interface with community leaders regionally and nationally to be a part of change. Join us as we volunteer at local food pantries, walk the streets of West Hollywood supporting our LGBTQIA+ community, practice street medicine, learn from physicians providing care to incarcerated individuals, and meet asylum seekers and hear their stories. We hope you can see our passion for serving our community and perhaps see yourself here at Cedars Sinai. Let's introduce our panelists so you can hear directly from our faculty and current residents. Your distinguished moderator for this evening is Dr. Gabrielle della Piana.
Thank you so much. And I just want to thank all of the doctors who've talked about their journey and their commitment to Cedars. We're just so proud of all of your work. So I am Gabrielle Piana. I am originally from Utah, but have been here in Los Angeles at Cedars for the past 8 years. I have kind of a similar story of matching here for residency and having the opportunity to stay for fellowship. I did residency in OBGYN and fellowship in maternal fetal medicine, and now I am on faculty for MFM. And what has kept me here and will continue to keep me here as a hopeful Cedars lifer has been the mentorship available, the sponsorship, and Cedars' commitment to providing excellent evidence-based, equitable care, as well as just how wonderful all the people are. Like, my best friends have come out of residency and fellowship, including my partner. So for our conversation this evening, I am honored to welcome our panelists. First, Dr. Achilles Aiken, who is a former chief resident and now PGY5 cardiology fellow. Dr. Cindy Fuga, who is a PGY3 resident in internal medicine. And Dr. Jordan Kai Simmons, who's a PGY3 resident in otolaryngology. Thank you to each of you for spending this evening with us. We've got a lot of ground to cover, so let's get started. We'll start with one reminder to our audience. Throughout the conversation, please feel free to submit questions using the chat function for our panel, and we'll do our best to get as many as we can at the end of the program. So with that, let's begin. So we'll start just with a first question to Cindy and Kai. What attracted you to Cedars initially?
So for me, I'm originally from LA County. I'm from Whittier, which is like 40 minutes east of here. But what attracted me was that it was like a big hospital setting, but yet it had a very deep values for primary care, which I'm interested in. And it had a lot of opportunities to work with underserved populations, which again, I knew from the beginning that that was kind of my path. And now being in Cedars, I feel like they really sponsor and nurture people who want to go into primary care, and specifically my interests with like Spanish speaking immigrants. I felt like Cedars was like the great fit for me, and especially being close to my family, my support system was a big pull.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I actually grew up in Northern California, and similar to Dr. Jane, I went to medical school and undergrad in the Midwest. So I went to the University of Kansas for both. And then I wanted to come back to the West Coast just because all my family's out here. A family that spans up and down the coast from Northern to Southern California. So this is definitely home to me. Specifically with Cedars, I was really attracted with their ENT program. So I'm a third year ENT resident, and they were actually building a new program as I was applying for residency. And that was something that attracted me. When I went to their open house, I was able to see their commitment to education, their drive for being innovative, and Cedars did have the track record as well for being involved with the community, especially from a DEI standpoint. That's something that is one of my biggest values. So that was something that I sought after when I applied to residency, and Cedars was definitely the best fit.
That's fabulous. Achilles, do you want to add anything about what drew you to Cedars initially?
Like Cindy, I'm also from Whittier, California, so Los Angeles is home for me. So wanting to stay in Southern California was essentially a big draw. But I wanted to be at a place that gave me the opportunities to kind of pursue any type of medicine that I wanted to pursue, whether I wanted to go into academic medicine and do research and work and continue to work in a teaching environment, or I wanted to work in the community and work with underserved communities. I felt like Cedars Sinai gave me that opportunity to kind of pursue whatever type of medicine I found myself to be interested through training.
Thank you for that. And to kind of just tag on to that, how do you feel like Cedars helps to equip residents to care for the different needs of diverse communities?
Definitely. As Nicole mentioned, Los Angeles is one of the most diverse cities in the entire world, and you will, as a result of that, take care of patients from all walks of life and from all points of the globe while taking care of patients here at Cedars Sinai. So not only do you have a very diverse patient population that you will see in the hospital that's reflective of the greater Los Angeles community, but as Dr. Noah mentioned, Cedars Sinai is kind of not one hospital. It's very unique in that it has many different facets within the hospital. You might have one day where you are taking care of a patient in one room who's being evaluated for an organ transplant and has been, established in care in this country for many years. And then in the room right next door is a patient who maybe just recently immigrated to the United States, has a new diagnosis, and has never established care here. So from door to door, from service to service, the hospital takes care of all patients under all spectrums of healthcare. So it very much acts as, this tertiary academic medical center where you might be taking care of some of the most complex patients in the entire country, to very much a community hospital, as well as a safety net hospital for patients who are uninsured or underinsured. So regardless of what training program you're in, you're going to take care of patients from all socioeconomic, ethnic backgrounds, which just makes you better prepared regardless of what setting you work at.
Yeah, and you'll continue to hear that common theme of the diversity of the city that we live in. Kai and Cindy, can you add a little bit more about how being in this diverse city of Los Angeles has shaped your residencies, both personally and professionally?
Yeah, I feel like I've been able to see such a stark contrast between where I trained for medical school and where I'm at now. So having been in the Midwest, it's somewhat of a more homogenous population, and that's okay. But being here in Los Angeles, you see the complete opposite. We have access to essentially every culture, ethnicity, religion, and so it allows us to use all that cultural competency training that we're so familiar with in compliance, but in real life and in real patient care. So I know there's some medical students out there in the audience who are doing a lot of studying, and they see these questions that say, a patient came in from, maybe like West or Central Africa, and they had these symptoms, And for so long, it's just a question on a piece of paper, but we really see these patients. And so it kind of brings that to life. And so the diversity that exists at Cedars is something that it really works only to make us better clinicians. And so that's something I appreciate.
Yeah, I completely agree with everything like Kai said. Especially like in the primary care setting, seeing a lot of people from like diverse backgrounds, like in the FQHC I work in, most people are underinsured or uninsured, and a lot of people are like recently immigrated to LA or to the country in general. So I think learning, how to start from step one in terms of being their primary care doctor has been very helpful to me, because that's specifically what I want to do. Like I want to work with immigrants. And obviously I don't know any of their past medical history. They usually don't have their records with them. So that's challenging, but at the same time, it's like very, I feel like very fulfilled, like becoming somebody's primary care who just like immigrated here.
Yeah, thank you guys for that. And to kind of build on one of the strong benefits, which is the diversity of our city, this question I'm going to open to all of our panelists. What do you feel like are the greatest benefits of being a resident at Cedars Sinai?
Yeah, I would say just to reiterate kind of what we've mentioned, you get a unique training experience when you are able to take care of patients from a very diverse background. You start to realize the true value and the importance of patient-centered care and making decisions for patients in their own personal interest, as well as unique to their personal, social, humanistic, personal circumstance. And it forces you, in a sense, to be a better physician. Because, we read a lot about, pathology and disease in textbooks, but patients don't read textbooks. And the, standard treatment isn't always the best treatment for every individual patient. So the more pathology, the more diversity you see in patients, the more likely you will be capable, when you finish training, to work kind of in any unique, personalized setting.
I agree with all that, absolutely. I think besides all of the things that we've already discussed, one of the biggest benefits to me of Cedars is that it's essentially just a total package program. And we really have everything here, more than you'd even realize. So another thing that attracted me to this residency program is the fact that Cedars has both a private and an academic component to it. That's something that you don't see at very many programs. It allows you to see a more broad view of healthcare from just what you kind of see in your narrow scope a lot of time in some institutions. And beyond that, there's just so much inclusivity here. The amount of holidays that I've never celebrated before in my life that I've celebrated since being a resident has, I can't even count on one hand, just because there's so much of an air and inclusiveness here at Cedars. Everybody's represented and everybody's made to feel like they are a part of the bigger system. So I think that alone is an intangible thing that makes being a resident at Cedars very satisfying.
I think for me, one of the things that was very important was wellness. And coming into Cedars Sinai, I realized how much they value wellness. I can't speak for other programs, but I know internal medicine is like, they're awesome in terms of like wellness. And I grew up in LA, and I can't say that I've known it as much as I've known it like during residency, because I go out with my co-residents and there's like a ton of hiking around the area and just a lot of things to do. And Cedars Sinai is like in such a great location that these past 3 years, I feel like I just been like going out more than most people would imagine for like a resident, and it's very nice.
Yeah, and I feel like that's a nice transition into thinking about, is there anything that has surprised you, to our current residents, to Kai and Cindy, about your experience at Cedars, aside from having an opportunity to care for yourself?
Anything that surprised me? I think the aspect of like working in a private slash nonprofit hospital, just because for us as like internal medicine residents, we kind of have to learn how to when to call private attending versus like non-private attending. And I think that's very helpful in terms of like once we get out into the real world, because that's probably how it works. But in my academic institution in University of Iowa, it was like all academic, so we didn't have that. So learning that aspect was kind of nice.
I'd say in terms of surprises, I 100% agree with Cindy in that the quality of life that I've come to know as a resident is much higher than what I initially expected. And it's not because I'm working less hours than any other resident, but it's just what we have access to around Los Angeles. In the immediate vicinity around Cedars, we have great food places, coffee shops, just nice scenery. Even between cases in the operating room, I can go outside and sit and enjoy a nice sunny day with some Starbucks. So these are just kind of the little things that I've come to appreciate. The hiking in the area, just the many things that you can do around Los Angeles is it promotes the wellness, and it makes being a resident a lot better.
Yeah, a mini plug for the fact that there is a Starbucks on campus and that your meal money is included in Starbucks. So sticking with Kai and Cindy here for a sec, can you guys give us a glimpse of what a typical day is like for you as a resident? Like, what's your daily schedule?
For me, from start to finish, basically, it starts the previous day. So we'll get a text from our chief resident when to round the next morning. We'll all meet there, usually around 6 to 6:15. Round on our inpatients, we'll sign out the list, and then we'll assign tasks to the floor resident, medical students. We have an army of physician assistants who help us and are instrumental in patient care when it comes to the inpatient setting. Then the rest of us residents will go off to the operating room or clinic if we have to. And then at that point, the day is pretty much streamlined. We have a resident on the floor seeing consults who are kind of taking care of the calls and any inpatient issues. And then once all the operating rooms finish, we'll kind of collectively run the list together. Certain residents can get dismissed if it's a lighter day. Some will help see consults on the floor, or we'll all kind of check in on the resident who's in the flap case that's going to last until 8 to 10 p.m. If we have to. So pretty standardized. I like that level of organization, and it's pretty consistent throughout the day. Then there's always a resident on call as well. I think our call schedule ranges between Q4 and Q5. So a pretty decent call burden. We take one call week in a month. So allows us some time on our golden weekends to enjoy the city.
I think for internal medicine, our schedule's not as like consistent. So 3 weeks ago, I was in night MICU, and I was doing that for 2 weeks. So it was like about a 13 to 15-hour shift from like 7 to sometimes 10 a.m. But usually we run in like blocks of 2. But right now I'm like in clinic for like 6 weeks, which I completely love. So I'm on Venice Family Clinic. And again, this is something I love about Cedars, that they offer so much outpatient experience. And I'm there for like a whole month. And yesterday I just worked from like 5 to 9. Today I work from 9 to 1. So it's pretty amazing. And I work with the population I want. Most people in Venice are all Spanish speaking, and the ones that aren't are usually like low income or homeless. And I really appreciate working with those populations.
I'll also say that I'm on my research rotation right now. So just a plug for the ENT program for all you budding otolaryngologists out there. We have 3 months of research. I'm currently on my rotation. I've been enjoying the summer, but also being productive. So that's why I'm at home and not in the operating room in scrub. So that's part of the good life right there.
Yes, there are opportunities for those silver lining rotations for sure. To open up to all of our panelists, can you guys discuss what is something that you think Cedars does well in the space of inclusivity, and where do you see opportunities to improve?
I can start. Yeah, I think Cedars Sinai has made a very concerted effort to help recruit, like all of you here, a training program in all aspects of its training programs that reflect the diverse community that we serve. I noticed that as an internal medicine resident, the far majority each year in, year out of our residency program was mostly women, and every year on year more diverse than the year prior. Same thing with our cardiology fellowship as well here. I think that the next step, and one of the first steps towards meeting this next step, is, recruiting great trainees and training them to become the physicians that they want to be, the attendings that they eventually want to be, is to also recruit, a diverse group of faculty that also reflects, the community that we serve. So I think Cedars, with programs like this and over the past many years, has been really trying to recruit a very diverse group of residents, fellows, and then with that, hopefully we'll have the opportunity to retain a lot of those great physicians, to create a faculty that also reflects their trainees, as well as the patients that we're all taking care of here.
I will say one of the things I've noticed most about the level of inclusivity here is that there's always more to do, or there's always room for improvement. Somebody's always willing to listen to new ideas. For example, I remember earlier this year, we had a Juneteenth celebration. And I fully expected it to be, just some posters, somebody standing behind a podium reciting Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go. I got to support the community. Let me see what this is about. I'm walking down the hallway and I'm hearing drums and music, and then people making noise. I'm like, wow, what is this? So I go, and this Juneteenth celebration is just incredible, absolutely incredible. They've recruited people from all over Los Angeles and California and further beyond that. They had the local Rams NFL football team present at the Juneteenth celebration. There was food. It was delicious, catered from Black-owned businesses. So Cedars really went, above and beyond to make sure everything was as perfect and as representative and inclusive as it possibly could have been. And so people were inspired, genuinely. I think when I was there, somebody donated like $5,000 for the next year's program. So I can't emphasize enough that it's very inclusive and it's palpable. You can really feel it, and it affects you positively on a daily basis.
I think there's been a lot of new programs that are promote inclusivity, like Dr. Jane, shout out to her. She's been great in implementing the core program, which I'm a part of, and I really appreciated it because through the program, there's a lot of volunteer opportunities. We did a walk to support the Pride Festival. So I feel like a lot of those programs that promote inclusivity, I'm able to meet other people, either through other residency programs that I'm able to, kind of share a similar goals. So that's been, it's been very helpful.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And I appreciate the shout outs to the Juneteenth celebration and the Pride celebration. For Achilles and for Kai, can you talk a little bit more about how Cedars helps to ensure that residents of diverse backgrounds feel welcome and feel empowered while here?
For me, being, first generation in my family to pursue medicine and to become a physician, and like many people from underrepresented backgrounds in medicine, this can feel like, uncharted territory, pursuing a career that's as demanding as it is. And, there can be a lot of imposter syndrome at all stages of your training, even when you are done with training and very much either a faculty member or an independent physician. But one of the things that has impressed me the most is how understanding, open, welcoming all the faculty that I have interacted with throughout my training have been, and understanding that, my future career might not be, charted out as well as I would like it to be, and still uncertain about the type of physician that I want to be. But all of the faculty that I've reached out for either clinical mentorship or research mentorship have always made themselves very much available and willing to go the extra mile to advocate for me and to guide me throughout my career as a physician. Even in day-to-day clinical practice, whether it was as a medicine resident or now as a cardiology fellow, our faculty are always available and want you to reach out to them if you have any concern about any patient at any point in time. And there's never this shaming environment where if you don't know something or are expected to know something that you are faulted for reaching out for help. So whether that's career guidance, research guidance and support, or just day-to-day clinical practice, how open, accepting, welcoming the faculty have been has allowed me to be more confident in myself, being, the first generation in my family to pursue medicine.
I feel like Cedars faculty and administration aren't afraid of asking questions that have traditionally been tiptoed around. So when it comes to inclusivity and supporting diversity, I think it's important to have targeted conversations and intentional conversations. And I think Cedar's been very good about having those dialogues. And so it's been my experience that even within my own department, which is a smaller department, it's a growing department, one that I actually happen to be the only person of color in, they make an effort to ask me, are there any additional resources that you might need? Or they touch base with me on a regular basis to see, how are you feeling about these interactions? I might have noticed this while we were on call together. How did this make you feel? Or do you know of any other resources that we could use or ways that we could help with outreach? And so they have allowed me to get very much involved with how the departments makes those sort of decisions. So, we're included in every step of the process for the most part. And so it's, again, something that I am excited to partake in, and I'm glad that I have the opportunity to do it.
Thank you, guys. And then we've kind of been talking about how Cedars is trying to evolve with the times. It's growing in its programs and services. For Cindy and Kai, you're both in the third year of your residencies. Can you guys talk about how you have grown in your time at Cedars?
I think coming into residency, it's always, I think as Achilles was saying, I think being a first generation, or even like the first person who went to college or even finished high school in my family was, I always have like an imposter syndrome, and I feel like it's always going to be there. But I think growing into the role of being a physician, I think Cedars has been really good in terms of helping me grow, learning about patient management, patient care. They've been really good about, like, if I make a mistake, they rather than like telling me it was wrong, it's very nurturing. I feel like all the faculty are very nurturing and really hopeful in terms of teaching. And I think that in itself has helped me become like a better physician. And I feel that I think growing up in LA or doing residency in LA has also helped me understand some of the social like determinants of health that go into like being a primary care doctor.
Thank you. And just to continue with Cindy and Kai, we believe each person on the Cedars Sinai team has the opportunity and responsibility to help share the future of research and care. So how you've touched on this, but if you can tell us a little bit more about how you've been empowered to make an impact during your residency.
Yeah, being on my research rotation right now, I have had ample opportunity. I've been approached by several different of my attendings about projects to not only innovate our field, but also promote outreach and inclusion and diversity. I think one of the bigger examples is we have an accelerator at Cedars that allows or supports innovation. One of the projects that we're working on, and I can't give you guys the full details, but we're trying to capitalize on this artificial intelligence revolution to help optimize certain processes both inside and outside of the operating room. And we've been approached by, and we've also approached the Cedars Accelerator with our ideas, and just being able to have this discourse back and forth with entities that are solely there to help promote innovation and growth and research is it's a different experience, something that I didn't necessarily expect to have while in residency, but those resources are available.
For me, the primary care clinic I work in is mostly Spanish speaking. So that has created a lot of opportunities because there's only a few, I would say, residents who speak Spanish. So right now I'm working specifically with one of the providers who also speaks Spanish to implement like a fall risk assessment and implement it into the clinic to increase like fall risk assessments. So that's been really helpful. I feel like the people there have been very encouraging. And the fact that I speak Spanish and I'm able to communicate with the patients there has also been like very helpful.
Fabulous. Well, I want to thank Drs. Aiken, Puga, and Simmons for being so open in all of your responses to give us an opportunity to make sure that we take some questions from our prospective residents. We'll transition here. First, I'd like to invite back Nicole Mitchell, Dr. Harris, and Dr. Noah to rejoin our panel, and then we'll try to get through as many questions as we can. So while we're all rejoining here, I'll start the first question to Dr. Noah and to our residents. Can you discuss how simulation is used in education and training of residents at Cedars Sinai?
Well, I'm happy to go ahead and start. We have a state-of-the-art simulation center here at Cedars Sinai. It's been in place for probably about 10 years, but it really is used as a model across the country. I was just gathering some data on that. We probably have close to 4,000 different courses that they will offer per year. The number of trainees is somewhere in the range of 16,000 trainees. But for our residents in particular, I know for the surgical programs in general, they will have opportunities to go ahead and have special sessions probably on a monthly basis where they will go ahead and go through certain techniques and tasks within the simulation center, whether it's putting in central lines, whether it's doing specific procedures that they have an opportunity to demonstrate their skills in before they actually do it on a patient and show that they are skilled and able to go ahead and be successful in doing that. One of the things that we have done within our internal medicine programs within the Sim Center is really dealing with the issue of communications with patients and patients' families. We do an interesting one dealing with sort of end-of-life communication, dealing with patients' families, and do a mock simulation with actor patients. And really, it's a chance for people to practice the skills, but also get feedback on things that they're doing right, things that they could go ahead and do better. And so it's a wonderful opportunity for our residents and our faculty, and they have actually a whole curriculum that's built into the simulation center. But I'll turn it over to our trainees. They probably can tell you what their experiences were.
Yeah, so we actually do have a training second and first year for kind of end of life, which is very helpful, especially we do a lot of ICU. And I think having those conversations with family, for me, I think is probably one of the hardest things of being in the ICU. So I really appreciate that they took the time and provided feedback to us. And I think I struggled throughout the simulation, but it was nice that I had that safe space to do that rather than like talking to a family and struggling then. So I felt a lot more prepared, and it was very early on in my training. It was like early second year, or I think end of first year. And usually I'm not having those conversations yet. So by the time I had that simulation, I was already feeling prepared to go into a conversation.
Being an ENT resident means we have a lot of different procedures and surgeries that we do. Unfortunately, the simulation center allows us to practice some of those. One of the newest ones, I think, is the scope simulator. I think it's both like a bronchoscope and a laryngoscope simulation. Prior to having this, I think, and I didn't experience this myself, but I think residents had to practice on each other. So I don't know. I don't think there were too many hands raised to have the intern scope you for the very first time. So this is one of the things that's been instrumental to our training. Not to mention they have entire microscopes, like operative microscopes in the simulation center. So we practice microsurgery, and they even have these little tiny fake blood vessels that we can sew together with the tiny sutures. So very well equipped. That's such a niche thing to have in a simulation center. So we really have so much stuff, not to mention the simulation mannequins as well. They are, 2 steps away from being human, maybe an update away from being human themselves. So just a very well equipped simulation center.
You joke about that, but we're working on it.
Mannequins are a little creepy.
They're super creepy.
I want to share too, we've started to think outside of the box. So the simulation center is an amazing tool for all of the reasons that everybody just named, but it's also a great tool to think about bias in real life situations. So we have a new program that our office actually teamed up with the simulation center called Inclusive Care and Bias Reduction. And it's a simulation series. The first one is talking about trans care, right? So if you walk into a room and you maybe use the wrong pronoun, kind of misgender somebody, how do you recover from that? And how do you kind of think on your feet? And I think that's really important when we're thinking about our patient care. We're the first organization that we know of that's thinking about using simulation in that way, which is really exciting. And we have a whole series. So the first one is around trans care. Next up, we're thinking about language and, how do we really bounce back when you have some of that service recovery, or you might use the wrong language. How do you understand what languages are being used and make folks feel comfortable? So that's another way that we use the simulation center.
I should mention one other thing that we do is that, there's issues called significant adverse events, something that hospitals should never happen. And if ever one happens in the hospital, we will frequently use our simulation center to build teams of people, whether it's nursing, respiratory therapists, physicians, trainees, to get together and simulate the event and try and identify exactly where are the items that really were important in causing this event and how we can prevent them in the future. A great opportunity there.
Thanks, everyone. The next question from our viewers, we'll start with you, Dr. Noah, is what skills are you looking for in residency candidates that will ensure their success at Cedars-Sinai?
Each department is going to be looking for things that are slightly different as they go ahead and look into residency. The basic issues are that I look for would be, number one, that the person has the really interpersonal skills to go ahead and be successful. That really really determines someone's success, whether it's dealing with how they deal with staff, how they deal with patients, how they deal with their peers is so important. So you look for things that might suggest they're going to be successful there. The people that you're going to tend to interview, we feel are going to have the academic abilities to be successful. But the question really that tends to pop up so frequently is, how are they going to mesh within this particular environment? How are they going to grow? Can we help them be successful in the future and really achieve their potential? So there's not one type of individual that we're going to go ahead and pick. We really are trying to be broad in what we look for. And in particular, we're doing holistic reviews of candidates right now. And it's really important for us to understand where people came from. How did they get there? What did they overcome? Why did some people get to do research when they were in high school and other people were working? They had to support their family and support themselves. Those issues are very important for us to be aware of as we go ahead and really choose trainees for our program.
Yeah, and I would just add on to that as someone who also does interviews, in addition to the importance of that interpersonal communication, because medicine is like the highest stake team sport that exists. You need to be able to function as a team player and understand that that team extends beyond just the physician workroom, includes our nursing staff and the multidisciplinary approach, and includes the EVS, the people who are coming and cleaning the rooms. It includes the MAs, it includes the clinical partners who help bring patients water, and wanting to be a part of that system. Also somebody who brings with them a little bit of humility, like Achilles had been talking about how safe of a space it is to ask questions, and the learning curve in a residency, no matter what you go into, is so high that you need to be someone who is willing to ask for help when those situations arise, and somebody who is coachable, because there's a lot of feedback that comes throughout the way, and being able to receive feedback in a productive way and incorporate it. And enthusiasm, because residency is going to be, for I think most of us, one of the hardest times of your life. And if you aren't excited about what you're doing and why you're here, then it's going to be a harder road than it needs to be. And so I look for somebody who seems truly excited and engaged. All right, so next question will be for Nicole and for Dr. Harris, and then for whoever of our residents want to chime in as well. Can you talk about what efforts are being made to increase diversity, especially among Black applicants? And how often do Black residents interact across specialties?
Oh, great question. I think this is something, events like this are, making sure that we are reaching out and getting engaged with the right organizations in the community, med schools. That's something that's definitely on our radar right now. We just are working on a good partnership with National Medical Association. So both the national organization and the student organization to figure out what does that look like? How can we engage and be present? I think thinking like that is critically important for us as we continue on our journey of diversity and inclusion here at Cedars. So we're trying to be mindful. We're trying to think about mentorship. We're trying to show up where people are to share our story and our commitment. One thing, we also know that we have to plant the seed early and ensure that people are excited about medicine earlier in their lives and with exposure. So one thing that we're doing is Black Men in White Coats. We brought their youth summit to Los Angeles for the first time, and Kai was one of the folks who did a station to engage with some of our students, and Christina was actually on the panel. It was a great pilot for the first time bringing it. We're going to be bringing it back in February or March, and it's an awesome place for some of our residents to get engaged with the community and give back and plant that seed a little bit earlier for folks who may not have been exposed to medicine and to people who look like them in medicine. So I'm very mindful of making those connection points as we think about our strategy around DEI.
I'll just add, as a Black faculty member and many, many years ago, a Black medical student sitting in chairs, we weren't sitting behind a camera then. I think about a lot when Nicole and I, are planning or thinking and talking about these things. I think about what did I want, right? And I wanted to make sure that I was going to get to my program and feel like I had a community. Community has gotten me through everything, and it still continues to get me through everything and every day. Thank you, Nicole, for all the Teams messages I send you throughout my day. Because it's hard sometimes to be the one, right? If we're thinking about being the one Black resident, or even if there's a few, we are still kind of by definition in the minority. And so I think we are very thoughtful on what it means to build community. And I think us as leaders can only go so far. We can set up the scene, but it's definitely a grassrootsy sort of thing as well. And we know that it takes intentionality, and it takes more than just us caring. It takes everybody caring, regardless of, even if they are part of the majority group. And that work is really well underway. So, thinking about the future of diversity of our workforce is something that is near and dear to us and really at the highest level. So,
and I think on that community piece too, we have groups here to help create the community. So we have a Black Doctors for Diversity group, which is MDs, PhDs, trainees, everybody to come and create that natural connection point, right? To Christina's point, I think all of you probably mentioned it earlier, of being the only or first gen, that's a lot to carry. Yeah. And I think that coming here, it can be intimidating, and having that community, even if it's just a sit back, what the heck just happened, right? That's really important. Christina and I still do that a lot in our daily messages, right? No matter where you're at, and just being able to have that safe space, and that is important. That's how you're building connection. That's how you can learn a little bit about what else is happening in other programs and specialties. So I think that's a critically important piece that we continue to put resources and intentionality, as Christina said, behind.
Thank you. And I just want to thank again all of our prospective residents who have signed on here with us. I know that you are joining us from all different time zones, and we've had at one point 150 people here with us, which is amazing. And thank you for engaging and sharing your questions. Before we end, I'd like to give our residents and our fellow one more opportunity to share any very brief last words that you feel like may be beneficial to our attendees. So I'm gonna just call on you as I see you on my screen. So first starting with Kai.
No additional messages, just thank you guys for coming, and thank you for allowing me to be here to speak and share my experience about Cedars.
Thank you. And Achilles.
Again, thank you all for being here, for taking the time to learn more about us and Cedars Sinai. I will just say that if you're looking for a community, even if you're not from the Southern California area, you're very much able to find that here at Cedars Sinai, both in the people who help train you as well as the people that you're training with. So everybody needs a home. Residency training, regardless of the specialty, is difficult. But I am very confident that in pursuing training at Cedars Sinai, you will find what you need, regardless of the type of physician that you're hoping to become.
Amazing. And Cindy.
Well, thank you for being here. And if anybody's interested in primary care, I know I mentioned it several times, particularly Spanish-speaking patients, please reach out. I'm available anytime. So yeah, thank you.
Great. And so one final thank you to everyone for joining and sharing with us your time tonight. We encourage you to stay connected. So for more information about our 16 residency programs, please visit our website and we'll drop the link in the chat. Or you can follow Cedars Sinai or Cedars Sinai Academic Medicine channels on social media. Good night, everyone.